Like open the regular session of the Hamilton County School Board. We will now have a roll call, Mrs. Ford.
Yes, sir. Chairman Highlander.
Here.
Vice Chairman Jones.
Here.
Mr. Galloway.
Here.
Mrs. Lennon.
Here.
Mrs. Robinson.
Here.
Mr. Smith.
Here.
Mr. Chesterman.
Here.
Mrs. Thurman.
Here.
Mr. Wingate.
Here.
Mr. Jones. Superintendent Dr. Johnson.
Here. Thank you very much, ma'am. Let me read the amendments to the agenda for ask for approval. I've received the following request to amend the agenda, change item Roman numeral 11 to board matters and renumber remaining items. Add capital letter A, PECA, appointment of special question committee, Chairman Highlander, and add under delegations, Melissa Barnett, Signal Mountain Parent. Barrett, excuse me. Are there any other additions? We need a motion to approve the amended agenda, please.
So moved.
Second. So moved, seconded. Roll call vote, please. Bless you.
Mr. Galloway?
Yes.
Ms. Jones?
Yes.
Ms. Lennon?
Yes.
Ms. Robinson?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Chesterman?
Yes.
Ms. Thurman?
Yes.
Mr. Wingate?
Yes.
Chairman Highlander?
Yes. Thank you very much. There is no executive session, so we are honored today to have Dr. Rodney Knox, the principal of the Washington Alternative School, give us our meditation and our pledge to thanks, sir.
Thank you. To the honorable board members of Hamilton County Department of Education and the superintendent, Dr. Brian Johnson, I am Rodney Knox. Big mouth, too. Okay. I am Rodney Knox, the principal of Washington Alternative Learning Center. We are in District 5, where our honorable board member, Ms. Carissa Mosley Jones, is our leader. And I can honestly and proudly say that she has come to Washington on many different occasions, and she has worked with us endlessly. Her and my director, Ms. Leandra Ware, to help our school grow and flourish. And I know they do that for all the schools in the district. They have introduced me and invited community leaders into our school, and they have helped us sponsor partnerships with the business community. And I know that they are great assets to us. Just a little bit about Washington Alternative Learning Center. We are a 6 to 12 school, and we serve students who have committed zero tolerance offenses. They are remanded to Washington by 3 different ways. The first, at the smallest level, is we try to do prevention with principals. And when principals send us the students, they see that they're going down the wrong path, and they have tried many different interventions. And what they do is say, Dr. Knox, can we have a 20 to 25-day placement at Washington? And I try my best to honor that as much as possible. The next step is through a principals meeting. They have district level hearings, and those principals can meet with other principals and the student that had the offense, and they can recommend a placement at Washington. And then the very third way is through our esteemed great Mr. Dr. Lima Day, and he is very He's very caring, and he's very passionate about the students' learning. And he also sort of look out for us. We have a small faculty. We're small, but we are very strong. And he try to help make sure we can regulate that at the same time. He try to work with the parents and students. Because our goal is for students to reinvent themselves. I want to share with you today a small message that I do with the students and some of my teachers. It's a poem. The greatest sin is gossip. And I tell students all the time, you got to be careful what you say about other people, because sometimes it takes a long time for them to recover. The greatest mistake is giving up. I often tell students we all make mistakes, and we got to go to that next level and try again. The most satisfying experience is doing your morning and afternoon duty. I put that on teachers, and they love it. They say, you're right. The best action is to keep the mind clean and your judgment good at all times. The greatest blessing is not power, money, or wealth, but your good health. The biggest fool is the fool that lies within himself. The greatest joy is being needed. The greatest man is he who does right. The greatest opportunity may not be this one, but the next one. Every time a door closes, another one will open. And the most certain thing in life is change. Guys, if you could, ladies and gentlemen and community, could we please stand and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, very much.
Can I say one more thing?
You may.
I would love to extend an opportunity to all our honorable board members, our central office administrators, and our community to come visit Washington. We have a great family at Washington, and it would just debunk all of your myths about alternative school. And to our honorable board members, Dr. Brian Johnson, and our supported central office staff, I just want to thank you for your time and your service to helping HCDE become the fastest improving school district, not only in the state, but in the world. Thank you.
Dr. Knox, thank you for your honorable efforts. We appreciate you, sir.
And I just want to point out, I want to thank Dr. Knox and his staff at Washington, because I know he had his office staff working with him on these nice little gifts.
Yeah, they did, but I did a lot of them myself now.
But we want to thank you for that as well, and I do too want to also encourage everyone to take time out to come to stop by and visit Washington Alternative, because I often tell people that I think Washington is probably the most well-behaved student population in the district. Dr. Knox runs a tight ship, but it's a loving ship, and he tries to get our kids back to where they need to be in their own home environments, and so we want to applaud you and your staff for that as well.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Now, under exemplars of excellence, our national merit semifinalists, I'd like to call Dr. Robert Sharp and Mrs. Leandria Ware to come forward, please.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
To Chairman Hollander, Vice Chair Mosley Jones, Superintendent Johnson, and members of the board. It is my honor and privilege to come before you this evening in recognition of our very own National Merit Scholars. The Hamilton County Department of Education is pleased to formally recognize 7 students recently identified as National Merit semifinalists. These 7 students from 6 Hamilton County schools were notified by the National Merit Scholarship Corporation that they qualified for this prestigious recognition based upon their performance on the preliminary SAT National Merit Scholarship Qualifying Test. Semifinalists named in each year's merit scholarship competition show exceptional academic ability and potential for success in rigorous college studies. Out of 1.5 million students in more than 22,000 high schools who entered this program, 16,000 semifinalists are the highest scoring entrants in each state and represents less than 1% of each state's high school seniors. So at this time, I want to recognize our National Merit finalists. And when I call your name, students, I would like for the student and any parent that is here representing or whomever is here to support that student to come up with them, as well as that student's principal. Because we know parents are very important and it takes a village, a collective effort to make sure we support our students to the best level possible. So,
Ms. Wade,
at this time, yes, sir.
excuse me just a minute. With your permission, I would like for their board member to come.
Oh, yeah, party over here. Let's bring them up.
Thank you.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. All right, so the first 2018 Merit Scholarship competition finalist is Chattanooga School for the Arts and Sciences, Joseph Azevedo and Joshua, wrong list. Chattanooga School for the Arts and Sciences, we have Zoe Zimmerman. Zoe, please come forward. And if you all would just come and line up across here, because once we're done, we'll make sure everybody shakes your hand. And yeah, just go that way. That's great. Awesome. Absolutely awesome. All right, next from East Hamilton High School, Middle High, we have Joseph Azevedo and Joshua Lagria. Come on up. All right, from Hamilton County Collegiate High, and this student did have obligations, and so she's not able to be here this evening, but we do have representation from Hamilton County Collegiate High, Anika Lee. Next, from Ottawa High School, we have Philip Dyer. STEM School, Chattanooga, Elias Bassler. And from Signal Mountain Middle High School, we have Tamjid Azad. All right, everybody, once more, please join me in recognizing and giving a huge round of applause to our National Merit. We are going to ask at this time if you all will proceed around this way, starting this way, and they are going to shake your hands with excitement and let you know how proud we are of every last one of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you all so much. Dr. Justin Robertson has deferred to Rachel Turner for Outstanding Middle Level Social Studies Teacher of the Year. Ms. Turner?
Thank you. Good evening, members of the board and Chairman Highlander and Dr. Johnson. My name is Rachel Turner and I'm your new social studies lead teacher. I want to first thank you for valuing social studies education in the county and supporting our social studies teachers. We greatly appreciate it. But I'm here tonight to recognize a very special colleague of mine, Miss Erin Glenn. She's an 8th grade United States history teacher at Eastlake Academy, and she's the daughter of Karen Glenn, who works here at Central Office. You guys may know her. Last year, Erin was named the Middle School Teacher of the Year by the Tennessee Council for Social Studies, which means she's the best middle school social studies teacher in the state. You're going to have to stand up again. As if that wasn't enough, the Tennessee Council for Social Studies then sent her nomination to the National Council for Social Studies. And the National Council then looks at the winners in all 50 states, and they choose one National Middle School Teacher of the Year. And that was our own Erin Glenn. Because she is so modest, I want to take just a couple of minutes to brag on some of her other accomplishments because she is so polite. She will never tell you all of these great things, so you may be standing up again. She's a national board certified teacher. She's on the steering committee for the Chattanooga 2.0 initiative. She is a board member and the secretary for TICA, which is the Tennessee Educators of Color Alliance. That's a nonprofit that seeks to diversify the teacher workforce. She's also the U.S. Department of Education. She's a think tank a think tank member for the United States Department of Education. She is a 10-core U.S. History and Geography coach. She's a curriculum coach for Catalyst Ed. I have a few more things. She is a current Hope Street Group Fellow and a former SCORE Fellow, which is the State Collaborative for Reforming Education. She served on various committees at the state level to help the state write social studies standards and to help improve the assessment situation for the state. And lastly, she's a vital part of our social studies planning committee. She always attends our meetings and helps us plan our biannual in-services. And she's also, the greatest thing about Erin is that she doesn't just go out and do all these things and learn things and keep them to herself. She's always willing to lead professional development events for other teachers in the county. So obviously, we're very blessed and fortunate to have Erin in our district. So congratulations.
Yes, we are.
If I may add, the apple did not fall far from the tree.
And I hope the news is getting all this stuff is happening that's great in Hamilton County. Make sure to show that tonight, that we have like the best social studies teacher in the nation.
Yes.
Now we have all these top semi-finalists and this national merit. So we need, this is news.
And that's District 4, just pointing that out.
We can thank Tiffany for that. If you would, good job, Tiffany. Good job. If I may now, Roman numeral 6, presentations, retreat follow-up by our superintendent, Dr. Brian Johnson.
Thank you, Board. Just want to take a minute to kind of do a mid-year update and to kind of go back and we'll talk about a little bit of the work that you all engaged and led us in and some of the work that we've done up to this point. So I think one of the things that's the reality is that we're in a season of change, and I think these two quotes capture it appropriately. That, you know, obviously we honor the past and we live in the present, but we also have an eye towards the future. And we know that we want to continue to improve because it's the right thing to be doing by our children. Anytime you're in a season of change or in the midst of change, I'll point to really kind of that stage 2, you know, when you're really starting to look at improving and taking those next steps, usually in the midst of change, and this comes from Bridget's word, there's some fear and anxiety and concern and what's happening and the shifts. And so we're in the midst of that. We're in the midst of a cycle. But I point you to stage 3 into stage 4, where we're definitely heading quickly. We're capturing the creativity and the hope and the enthusiasm that really exists and really headed towards that upward trajectory. Again, we want to look at the past, and we want to look at, but we also want to have an eye towards the future. Hamilton County has been an extremely successful district with a lot of tradition and a lot of just great accolades, some of which we see tonight, and we want to definitely honor those things. We want to replicate those things. Honestly, we want to duplicate those things in a very expedient manner. And so I think it'd be appropriate to point us back, and I'm sorry that these sticky notes are folded, but I have them folded and saved. And these are what you all did as a board, and I'd be remiss to say that this board has been really supportive as we've come aboard. But during our retreat, one of the things that the board did in groups was ask them to write the newspaper headline for the next 5 years. And so these are some of the things that they said in the headline and some of the key points that were up under there. It's proving itself to be the fastest improving district in the last 5 years. I don't know if y'all remember who was in this group. That was your group, okay. But some of the things they pointed out that residents are able to identify with community schools, teachers are lining up. I remember Joe Smith saying this: as a result of the vision and hard work of 2017, Hamilton County schools are thriving. And I'll just point you to the second bullet on this one. It said, I don't know which group this was, but private school community shrinks by 75%. Because of the success. That was Joe Wingate. Because of the success. But I point you back to these things. I think these are critical. The time we spent on that day, the time we'll spend going forward, is what sets the trajectory for change, what sets the trajectory for our children to be successful, our schools, and ultimately this community. And so we talked about this and well documented that we want to be the fastest improving school district in Tennessee, and we're unapologetic about that. And when we talk about improvement, we don't talk in isolation to academic performance. We talk every area of the system. And so we know that it's not a magic thing. If you don't change, that magic is just not going to happen. And this board appreciates your support in doing that. So we talked some about how we'll accomplish this goal. And I've shared this slide several times in several different places. But there's got to be great teachers, great leaders, and obviously great learning taking place. Every child needs access to an Aaron Glenn. Every child needs access to a great leader. And then every teacher and leader needs access to great resources, whatever they be, classroom materials, be it the learning environment. We also talk about making sure that our students graduate post-secondary ready with a 2 or 4 year, from a 2 or 4 year institution, which Justin did a great job of talking about EPSOs during our work session, a credential or certification in the military. And then also those 4 C's, the ability to collaborate, communicate, critically think, and to be creative. And I'll tell you, I was at the Lego Robotics last Saturday with hundreds of kids at Chattanooga State, 100 kids from Hamilton County, and I actually believe that Nolan Elementary took home the championship and will go on to maybe the regionals in Atlanta. But to watch those kids in those Lego robotics, they're doing those four things. They're collaborating, they're communicating, they're thinking critically, and they're being creative. And that's what we want with students across this system. I'd also bring you back that we had community input sessions, and these were the priorities that the community established as important to them, and I think we see these dovetail very nicely with what the board established in the retreat. The career readiness was a focus, communications and public perception and engagement, social emotional supports, student performance was an area of focus, and then the STEM and the arts. We also, again, I think one of the things I really want to make sure is really clear, we've got several different layers that are really fitting in regards to the work that we're trying to get done and what the board's committed to, what the community is committed to. But the transition team, which I know the board's seen this, has shared just kind of some initial opportunities that may be there. The development, establishment of a chief suite, identify operational efficiencies, shift human resource function towards a talent management focus, grow a robust catalog of pathways for post-secondary opportunities. I won't read all those to you, but I'll give you a moment or two to take those others in. And you can see the status as far as where we are on those areas and in the throes of doing that work. So I think it's also important to highlight the bright spots across Hamilton County. And this is a lot of times what there's not enough done. And one of the first articles that I shared with this team, and y'all had a couple weeks off, so I got to get at least some more articles to read. But one of the first articles we shared was about bright spots. And the thing about bright spots is you find out what's working. The premise is you find out what's working and how you can do more of it. And I think one of the things we really want to make sure that people understand, there's at least 125 languages served in Hamilton County. Our teachers and our leaders every day serve students with over 125 languages. We take every single student, no matter what their socioeconomic background is, no matter where they come from, we take every one of them and we do our best to educate them. You met one of our board-certified teachers today, but we have 52 national board-certified teachers. There's also some phenomenal programs. One of the things I've been most encouraged about in coming in is Mechatronics, the Mechatronics Academy with VW, the Stomp. We had a chance, Jill and I went with, who else was with us, John Maynard, a few days ago to the Stomp. And it is amazing to see our kids in a work-based learning environment where they're in school and they're also earning wages, and it's life-changing. Literally for many kids. We met one kid that just, it's changed his whole dynamic. He's the breadwinner for the family, but he's also getting skills. And ultimately, I believe John, correct me if I'm wrong, is a full-time employee or will be up for full-time employment there, which is life-changing for him and that family. National PTA, and I see Mr. Brown here tonight, but Loftus and Allen Elementary, just great stories. Milliken Award-winning teacher, state principal of the year. You've seen many of these things. We met the National Merit semifinalists today. 8 VW Fab Labs, and there are 8 more to come. Feverish competition there. 5 award schools in Hamilton County. It's an achieving school district, which is next to the highest designation of the district. And then student scholarships. There are over $20 million in student scholarships in Hamilton County. That's a lot of money, and that's just what we could get our fingers to calculate. We know, too, though, that as we move forward, and as you establish as a board in that session, that it's not about just what we do, it's about the culture that we establish and that we develop. And so we just don't want to be doing stuff. Peter Drucker says, culture eats strategy for breakfast. We want intentional, focused, systemic change that moves and transforms learning for our students. So just kind of hitting some of the things where we are in this slide as we get ready to wrap up, where we are since July. We've implemented Opportunity Zone, and that team has really hit the ground running with second to none, I would say, supports that are provided for those schools. Also, instructional support. When I got here, Justin was knee-deep in development of curriculum guides, which are huge for teachers and ultimately students in the learning. Also, I think sometimes some of the things that are missed are the technology access. So There's a bevy, and we want to be even better at these areas. But these are some things that I think that, or just think we need to note. I know this past year was about 440, Christie, or 480 devices that we purchased, and we're looking at how we can. When I say devices, I'm talking Chromebooks. We're looking at how we can scale that up and how we can get more students access to technology. Instructional program, we're looking at small learning communities with our Future Ready Institutes in partnership between business and industry, which I know the board has really established the partnership with industry and taking advantage of that has been important. We have STEM and arts lead teachers in place, and Claire Stockman is our arts lead teacher, and it's really jumped in and done great work. We've implemented Leadership Matters. Leadership is critical, and we have McGrail Balanced Leadership in place. All of our principals have begun training on that. Our assistant principals, I believe, have begun as well. And we also will have a group of certified trainers that are able to do the training and deliver the training every year to every single administrator that comes forth to Hamilton County. You all know about the building and capital plan that we put forward. Also, talent management, just a phenomenal job fair that was put on by Aaron and Carmen and Penny and the whole HR team really chipped in to make. I believe it was over 300 teachers there on that evening, and I was in the meeting today, and I know that principals are snapping up hires as we speak. We've implemented a central office reorganization, and so one of the things I'll share very openly is that no system is going to run without talent, and we're very excited about the talent that we have and the infusion of new talent that's coming in to help move us forward. We've also been able to make the communications department more robust. One of the things we heard, again, from the community was that communications and how we communicate and engage is important. And so we've been able to go from having a one-person department to having 3 people that support the work of communicating across this community. And then listen to the community. We've been able to implement online registration. We're in the throes of looking at safety enhancement and as well as the website, which I believe will come forth today from the RP work that I know Ben and the team did. Just some initial budget priorities we'll share just from listening session 1. We know we're getting ready to go into listening work session 2. We've got 14 meetings scheduled between February and March, but the arts will be a focus. Social and emotional support, we've heard that. We know we got to continue to support our students with that. Safety is really important. Community schools, we've got 2 community schools coordinators also had a chance, I believe last week, Kathy, that Red Bank celebrated their first year North Neighborhood House partnership and a great model, and I believe they're getting ready to scale up, Joe, in your neck of the woods at Hickson Middle. And so that's just a great partnership and one we look to learn from. And then also STEM education, and I always put this number out there, but I think it's a reality. We have an obligation to prepare students for the careers that are going to be, and the reality is in the next 10 years there'll be 42,000 jobs in the STEM field with a median salary in the state of Tennessee, 42,000 jobs with a median salary of $62,000 a year. And so we've got to always have an eye on the future and preparing our students for that. Just a little bit of a next step. There'll be a complete deeper reorganization. We've asked these chiefs to take the next 30 to 45 days. They've got about 30 now, 29 now, 28 now, and a complete organizational chart. You all have seen the old ones, but a complete organizational chart listing every position that's in the system to include administrative assistants. We want to get that up. Our website doesn't have the capability right now to have that uploaded for the community, but we think that's something that's important, and as we look at this new website, that is something that will be readily accessible and available. As I mentioned, 14 community listening and planning sessions that we have planned, and really the focus of those, they'll be a little bit different. We want to look at how we engage the community in those conversations, so Post-its and stick-it notes, and we really want their input on where we're headed and the future direction. We're in the throes of beginning the 18-19 budget, and I know you have the budget calendar. We're looking forward to jumping into that. Refinement of the strategic plan. You all have done great work with that, and we'll continue to refine that and really garner input as to how we might adjust it to make it something everybody feels great about. Again, continue to focus on enhancing community engagement opportunities. looking at external building review for long-term capital planning. Talked to Lee about that, and Justin, and that's something that we're committed to doing. We think we have a moment in time we need to look at a compensation study, and so we're going to engage our town officer and HR team in that. The ESSA conversation that has continued today, I know the board's had before. We know we've got to engage the community as well in that so they understand. One of the things we didn't get to that, and Justin's shaking his head at me now, but one of the things we did get to is the A through F grade model, which is a part of ESSA. It's actually legislation from the legislation that's folded into ESSA. And so I think that's something we need to make sure, continue to make sure the community is fully aware of. And then the launch of the small learning communities, and I think Justin alluded to, something we're really excited about is industry that has already stepped in, that's ready to roll up their sleeves, and not just roll up their sleeves, but also invest equity into each of our students. So that's what we have, and kind of where we are, and just kind of giving the board, providing the board an update on where we are as a whole, and also reminding us all of what your priorities are that you've established and where we want to be in 5 years. Any questions?
Thank you, Dr. Johnson. Any questions for anyone? Delegations, we have two: Dan Liner, HCDE, Melissa Barrett, Super Mountain Parent. I'll turn it over to Ms. Jones. Steve, got a question? I'm sorry, I missed it.
When did you say you were gonna get that organizational chart? Things are changing around here so fast, nobody knows who anybody is.
Yes, ma'am.
That, how much, I mean,
Next board meeting.
so we have another month. I'm just not real sure why it takes that long, but,
Well,
if they don't know who they work for, maybe they, if you wanna take off tomorrow, who you tell? And then we'll just go from there. You know, like I say, I would just kinda like to know who's answering to who and what it looks like.
correct. And to your point, we have current organizational charts available, and you sent those, and we've got access to them. But here's the issue. I've asked each chief to look at their departments and to really determine how and what shifts they may make. And so when we bring that forward to you next month, it doesn't make sense for us to bring forth one thing and then be adjusted again. We want to bring you what we feel is going to be a final kind of document, understanding that we'll continue to move and change.
Mr. Johnson, can we get a copy of that presentation? Could you?
Yes,
It's not
you can
on
email
our
it.
attachments.
We'll
It'd
email
be
it.
nice to have that.
Yes, get it to you.
Thank you.
And also with the new jobs, we'll get job descriptions for the new jobs that you've created. And and they're all evidently parallel and level with what they've been. If anyone's over or higher, then they'll have to be approved by the board. The way I understand, is that correct?
Yeah, all positions have been approved.
But I mean, with the job description, they're all level as to what they have been.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Jones?
Dan, Melissa, y'all ready? Thank you for your interest in addressing the Hamilton County Board of Education. During your presentation, please address the board as a whole, not individual board members or administrators. Also, do not present complaints or concerns you have about an individual employee of the school system. If you wish to voice those complaints and concerns, you should contact the central office and ask for a meeting with the superintendent. If I believe you are criticizing an individual employee, I will interrupt you and ask you to refrain. If you continue to criticize individual employees, or if, in my opinion, your remarks are in error or becoming repetitive, I may interrupt you and ask you to sit down. Please limit your remarks to 5 minutes. I will tell you when you have 1 minute left. You may begin when you're ready. What I do with the 1 minute mark I just kind of hold my pen up, okay?
Right. Chairman Highlander, school board members, Dr. Johnson, thank you for the opportunity to speak on behalf of the teachers of Hamilton County. I'm here to speak about a piece of legislation that is actually connected to ESSA. We've had a couple of presentations connected to the accountability plan that's articulated in ESSA. And one of those components is somewhat controversial. And I want to speak about that controversial component and ask the school board to consider the intensity of the controversy and perhaps establish a resolution that would oppose this measure. And I'm speaking of the A through F grading system that was actually passed or signed by the governor as a piece of legislation last spring. This legislation requires the State Department of Education to grade every single school in the state on a basis of an A through F. There are 5 criteria that will be considered in that evaluation. At least 2 of the criteria are based on a test, a high-stakes test that is given 1 day out of 170 days each year. So 2/5 of these criteria are based on that single test. Whether the single test be the TN Ready test, the ACT, or the SAT. The 5 criteria include these. I'm reading because I do not remember all 5, but the 5 criteria include academic performance, academic progress, ready graduate, chronically out of school, and English language proficiency. There are 16 states that have adopted this legislation. One of those states, Virginia, has already repealed that legislation because it simply didn't work. What the Virginia school community found was that this was a way of stigmatizing schools, stigmatizing communities, stigmatizing students, and stigmatizing teachers as well in those schools. As a result, it was repealed in Virginia. In Oklahoma, it was actually found that the A through F grading system lowered scores rather than increased scores. However, that legislation is still in place in Oklahoma. It's been highly controversial in Florida and especially in Texas, simply because of the fact that it does provide a stigma, as I said earlier, concerning schools that are given even a B. If one looks at the criteria that determines if a school is an A or a B school, the distinctions are fuzzy at best. While a B is acceptable, an A is more acceptable, and there's a high distinction obviously between a D and an F as well. And no school wants to be labeled an F, but under the criteria that are established, if these 5 different metrics do not receive scores of A, B, or C, then it's possible for a school or schools in Hamilton County to become F schools or to become D schools. I posit that our current means of presenting data is adequate, because we understand based on the current mechanisms we have in place that Hamilton County is currently growing. Our achievement is growing, our students are growing. In fact, this meeting was a celebration, or it's been a celebration of teaching and learning. And in every school, even in those schools that are struggling, there are great things happening in those schools. And for those schools to be labeled as F schools or D schools simply is not fair to all of those good things and the achievement and the learning and the growth that are taking place in each of those buildings. So I'm asking this board to adopt a resolution, just as your fellow board members did in Knox County most recently, stating your opposition to the A through F grading system for every school in Hamilton County, every school in the state. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Liner. I personally, I can't speak for the whole board as chair, I am personally in favor of drafting such a resolution and sending it to the state. So I'm strongly in favor. Dr. Johnson, would it be proper for us to make a motion now for that? If I may, I know the board normally does not do this, but I, as chair, would like to make the motion that we draft such a resolution if I can get a second.
Are you gonna draft it?
Well, I will be willing to, in conjunction with the staff here, and work with Mr. Liner and the staff. I'll be glad to. And we, yeah, obviously we do the research and look at the other districts, but I would certainly be willing to work with Dr. Johnson, his staff, and Mr. Liner to do that. And hopefully bring it back, Dr. Johnson, at the next board meeting, that be, okay? Okay, thank you very much. Ms. Johnson?
Ms. Fair.
we need to vote for that, Mr. We need to vote for that.
If you made a motion, then
And we get a motion,
you need a second.
do we have a second for us to do that?
I second it, I was just saying, I know that when we do resolutions, somebody has to kind of initiate that writing.
Well, I don't mind initiating the writing, I'll work with Mr. Liner and
Second.
Dr. Johnson's staff. But, okay, we got a motion to second, we have a roll call vote on this?
And let me just say something. You know, a lot of resolutions I'm not real big on, but this one right here, I think the thing that about this, one of the 5 points that really bothers me is the English language proficiency. That really puts a hardship on some of these schools
That's
that are very
That's exactly right.
heavily, you know, their enrollment is very heavily children that don't speak English. I mean, they're already 1 point down before they even get started. And that's absolutely nothing to do with the teachers or nothing to do with the principal or nothing to do with anyone. But they're already 1 point down before they get started. So that is certainly not fair. And I'd just like to talk to the legislators to find out what they're thinking, I guess. So that I can understand why that would be a problem.
Dr. Allen,
Yes, sir.
would it be appropriate to make a substitute motion that we, I'm not saying I'm for or against this, I just don't know enough about it yet to be saying I'm gonna vote to draft a resolution. I mean, tonight's the first that I've heard of an A through F grading scale, and again, I very well may be in favor of that, but I don't have enough information right now to say that I wanna vote on a resolution. I mean, I'd like to put that out there if that's appropriate.
I guess I'm wrong, but I've been following it pretty closely from the state and some of the periodicals that have come out, and so, and I think what Mr. Lyon said is grossly unfair. If you guys would like to wait, I hate to wait too long, but if,
Dan, could you share what the information that you have with us? You can email us that, can you share that? And then those who are not as, in-depth in the information can read about it to kind of formulate an opinion and then.
I will send you some resolutions that have been passed in other school districts in the state, you know, for your approval. I'll send those to you through email tomorrow.
And then,
Dan, when does it start? I mean, when are they gonna start the evaluation? It's
This
already
year.
started, or
This
saying,
year.
or this year, when this year?
They get those results, probably June, July, you know, the end of the year. Just like normal
This
results
year?
will come, the end of this school
Oh.
year, school year.
so that's why I was wanting to make a statement as soon as possible, hopefully get the legislature or, you know, to consider rescinding it even this year. We wait too long, it's gonna be put in place and activated. But
Mr.
I
Highlander,
understand. Yes,
if you just do what our board policy calls for, just say you wanna put it on the agenda next time, and that's all you have to do. You don't have to have a vote for it.
okay.
If you wanna put it on the agenda, just do so.
Well, I will draft a resolution then, and put it on the agenda, and come up for a vote next month then. Thank you very much. Now, evidently, we don't need to, if we're gonna do it that way.
Well, what I was gonna point out, Mr. Chairman, is that your motion was simply for you to work with the superintendent to draft something.
Correct.
So to address, Mr. Wingate's concern, you wouldn't be voting on the substance of the motion tonight.
Okay.
It would be simply that the executive committee would be pulling something together. And Mr. Testman is correct that it isn't necessary, but I think what the chair was asking for is a commitment from the board that this is something that the board wants for him to explore.
That is correct. I was not asking about the single, you simply draft it to bring to you folks. Okay, let's got a motion second.
And Mr. Chairman, because there's no,
to do that, like.
We don't need to vote for it then?
if you don't want to, it's
Okay, we'll do it.
discretion of the chair.
Thank you very much. Okay. Ms. Jones?
Ms. Baird, I'm sorry.
I wanted to come, I am a parent from Signal Mountain for Kathy Lennon as our representative, and we appreciate her up there. I wanted to thank all of you all for coming to Signal Mountain a couple of weeks ago and making the trip up. I'm glad the weather was better then. And wanted to tell you that I'm looking forward, a lot of us are looking forward to when you come back in a few weeks to Signal Mountain Middle High School for one of your listening sessions. And several of us are looking forward to directly addressing you all, asking questions and so forth. We're excited to hear about changes coming to Hamilton County Schools. and the leadership change, you know, is exciting, the new initiatives and so forth. Wanting more details, and every community is. Real interested in when Dr. Johnson mentioned the geo-clusters, really liked his discussion about that. And I think Kathy's advisory committees may be the first. We really like that idea of engaging more with the community. I think the lack of communication, not as engaged and all, has been part of the reason why there's been this debate on Signal Mountain here in the last year. And so I want to tell you that I really appreciate the better communication and all that Mr. Hensley over here and his staff have been doing the last few weeks. Parents like getting those school calls about no school, for instance, the night before, not 4 a.m. in the morning. We just like that communication. The website, you're going to be, that and your Facebook page are going to be hit a whole lot more. So the friendlier it is, the better. One thing I would like to say, and I would respectfully like to ask you all to consider when you're having these advisory committee meetings and you're talking about geo-clusters, and I mentioned this in an email to a couple of you, is that you might consider not just one advisory committee per school board district, but maybe align those advisory committees with your geo-clusters, and I don't know, you know, how many there's gonna be. I don't think there could be just, you know, like 8 or maybe 10. I don't know that y'all decided that yet, but that you consider possibly having different advisory committees for your different geo-clusters. And for instance, in Kathy's district, you know, we have Red Bank and we have Signal Mountain. I've lived and still go to church in Red Bank, love everybody there. I now live on Signal Mountain, of course. We have similar, but we also have different needs. In every school district, I think your different communities, you're gonna have different communities with different needs. So I want to avoid conflict with any advisory committee. I think parents all want the best for their students. So I just want you to consider that too as you go forward, and looking forward to hearing even more great news come from this new team and new initiatives. So thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, so much. I need a motion to approve the minutes of the December 21st, 2017 quarterly session.
Move to approve.
Second?
Second.
Okay, call for the vote, please.
Who's seconding that? Thank you.
Mr. Smith?
Mr. Galloway?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mrs. Lennon?
Yes.
Mrs. Robinson?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Testerman?
Yes.
Mrs. Thurman?
Yes.
Mr. Wingate?
Yes.
Chairman Hollander?
Yes. I need a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Move to approve consent agenda.
Okay, do I have a second? Have a second? Galloway, do we have anything that we need pulled?
Yes.
Thurman?
Yes, I would like to just discuss D1 differentiated pay plan, please, some clarification.
So noted. Anything else? Need to be pulled. Okay, would you vote for this now?
Mr. Galloway?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mrs. Lennon?
Yes.
Mrs. Robinson?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Testerman?
Yes.
Mrs. Thurman?
Yes.
Mr. Wingate?
Yes.
Chairman Hollander?
Yes. Ms. Thurman?
Yes, I guess I would just like some clarification on this pay plan. Is this going to affect anyone that is already getting, or maybe has been told or assumed that they would be getting some pay in some of these schools that are now going to be taken off the list? Do they know that they're not going to, I guess I'd say when they were signed on, were they told how many years it would last? And are we going to be cutting someone out of money that they thought they would be getting, that are not going to be getting it, and take certain schools off the list?
No, and I made it for Christie on this. This problem was approved by the board for differentiated pay
Right.
maybe in June, so
Right.
this is just a reallocation
Right,
of it.
that's what I'm saying. I just want, because I tell you what, there was a teacher that did make a contact and said that she was told that she was gonna be getting some money and she has not gotten it yet. And I don't know if that's just and I will talk to you about it later, but I do not know if that was because she misunderstood, we misunderstood. I just want to be sure that everybody understands exactly what's going on. Some people that signed on and to serve in some of these hard to staff schools, I just wanna be sure we're not cutting into some of their pay. Some of them are getting cut out that, maybe don't expect it.
Yeah, we'll double check and confirm, but it's my understanding that none of this money has been distributed as of yet, so we'll make sure that, we'll confirm, and if you'll let me know who that is, we can talk about.
Okay, I'll talk to Tiffany about it, and she can maybe can handle it, somebody in her district, so, like I said, I just don't want any of the teachers to be blindsided by any of this, and what they were told, okay, thank you.
Thank you for that clarification. Ready to move on to administrative business? Pardon?
I move
Oh,
to
we did.
approve.
Okay, move to approve, okay. So we do need to go ahead and, we have a second on that?
I second.
So we need to vote.
Okay, Mr. Galloway,
Yes.
Mrs. Jones,
Yes.
Mrs. Lennon,
Yes.
Mrs. Robinson,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Testerman,
Yes.
Mrs. Thurman.
Yes.
Mr. Wingate,
Yes.
Chairman Holland.
Yes. I was trying to speed it up, though.
Too late now.
All I can do is try, buddy.
You already know Lee's back. Administrative
business matters, campus support, Dr. McDane. Try not to be too lengthy.
Don't want to hear from me, don't acknowledge me.
No problem.
So you have before you the final reading for board policy 6.20. Just one small change. At this time, I do recommend board approval.
Move to approve.
Second.
Any discussion before we have a vote? Let's vote, please.
Mr. Galloway,
Yes.
Mrs. Jones,
Yes.
Mrs. Lennon,
Yes.
Mrs. Robinson,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Testerman,
Yes.
Mrs. Thurman,
Yes.
Mr. Wingate,
Yes.
Chairman Holland.
Yes. Dr. Dave?
Thank you, Chairman Highlander. You have before you a zero tolerance appeal. In your packet, I believe it was self-explanatory. At this time, I do recommend that the board oppose the decision.
Move to approve.
Can I say something really quick? I'll talk really fast.
We get a motion to second, and we discuss. Get a motion, we have a second?
Yeah.
Get a second? Is that Ms.
Thurman, Mrs. Thurman.
Ms. Thurman? Okay, now, Ms. Jones?
I just wanna say this, because I am gonna vote to uphold what Dr. McDay's office and Superintendent Johnson have said. But I do wanna make sure that the public understands, that we do look at each of these case by case, and we're not in the practice of just removing kids out of the classroom and doing whatever. And Dr. McDay's office does a really good job of trying to keep our kids in some type of educational setting. But I want the community to understand that zero tolerance policies, although sometimes may feel very strict and tight, the zero tolerance policies that we have in Hamilton County are actual criminal offenses in society. And so what I want people to understand is that if we don't try to teach our children now at 12 through 17 what is illegal in real life, then when they become 18 and a day old, they're going to jail. And it's not that we're saying that they're bad kids, because we know they're not. But we want them to understand that if you do these things now, if we perpetuate that and uphold you and don't hold you accountable for the wrongdoing in that, then we're allowing you to become, at some point in your life, a social menace. And we're not trying to do that. We're trying to teach you right ways to do things, and that zero tolerance means zero tolerance. And you could have been out of school for a whole year sometimes with things. And Dr. McDay's office, like I said, works really hard to keep these kids in school and for them to continue on. So it's very hard decisions that we make here, but know that zero tolerance equals criminal offenses in real life when you're 18 years and a day old. So please, parents and the village, support that accountability piece with our kids, because we're steering down the wrong path when we don't.
Well said, Ms. Jones. Any other comments or questions before we vote? Off the vote, please.
Mr. Galloway,
Yes.
Mrs. Jones,
Yes.
Mrs. Lennon,
Yes.
Mrs. Robinson,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Testerman,
Yes.
Mrs. Thurman,
Yes.
Mr. Wingate,
Yes.
Chairman Holland.
Yes. On board matters, PECA, appointment of special question committee. And the way I understand the law, the two board members need to serve, and Mr. Galloway and I have agreed to serve. And we're going to work in conjunction with Mr. Liner. Mr. Liner, would you name, I don't have the two gentlemen's names in front of me. Could you read them for me, please?
Yes, representing professional educators will be Stephen Hinkle and Kevin Asslinger.
So, those four, the four of us will will work on the appointment of the Special Question Committee, and in the past, we've worked with Dr. McDade. Is that correct? We'll continue to do that. Dr. Johnson agreed that we'll continue to do that. Okay, information only, legal services report.
The board does need to approve that.
We do need to approve that?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Move to approve.
okay. We have a second?
A second.
You vote, please.
Mr. Galloway?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones? Yes. Mrs. Lynn?
Yes.
Mrs. Robinson?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Testerman?
Yes.
Mrs. Thurman?
Yes.
Mr. Wingate?
Yes.
Chairman Highlander?
Yes. Thank you very much. Didn't see the stars there. Okay, information only, legal services report.
That's information only.
Okay. Any events or announcements? Well, Johnson, do you have anything?
We're looking forward to the 14 community listening sessions, and that's about it. Should work.
We're looking forward to a day in school tomorrow, too.
That's right, school is in tomorrow.
And the budget work
You
session.
tweak that, Megan.
The first budget work session is when?
February 15th,
Right.
prior to the school board meeting.
February 15th, prior to the school board, meeting our first budget session.
I have one more thing.
Okay,
Please keep Councilwoman Demetrius Coonrod, she's the city councilwoman for District 9 in your prayers. She lost her daughter, within this week, and she will be they will be funeralizing her on this Saturday, and she was a Tyner Academy grad, but please keep her family, in your prayers. I can't imagine, but please keep them in your prayers.
Thank you so much. We're adjourned.